Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of TRCOA's Behind the Groove. If you're here live, please introduce yourself and ask questions in the chat as we go along. This episode is sponsored by Stinson Recording Studios. Also, if you find this content useful, please like this video, and if you are new, please subscribe to our channel. We make new content every week. Today we are proud to have Robert Sewell. He's going to show you his method of getting a professional pop vocal sound. Robert is the owner of Robert Sewell Productions. He's also a TRCOA alum and has worked with such artists as the Pentatonics, Lil Wayne, and Skrillex. Robert will start right after our pro tip in under 5 minutes.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben Cleaver, back with another pro tip in under 5 minutes. All right, so tonight the pro tip I'm going to show you is using the nudge function. This function is super useful, especially if you're trying to nudge something, especially vocals, if something is slightly off or you are time aligning something. This is something that can really, a function that can really make something much easier for you. So most of the time when you open a session and if you're using a click, it's going to start with on the grid. So you see the nudge option down here. You can select exactly what note option that you want them to use to be on. So I'll just show you what that is in general. So right now we have it set on the grids on quarters and the nudges on quarters. So anytime I nudge a track, it's going to move by quarters. So if we look at on your number pad, you have the plus minus, and that is what is going to allow us to nudge. If I press the plus button, it's going to nudge us right now. Since I am on quarter note nudge, I am nudging by a quarter note every time I hit the plus sign. Anytime I hit the minus sign, I am nudging by back a quarter note. So that makes it really easy, especially if you're trying to shift something around that is on the grid or on time, or you're trying it in different spots where you're experimenting or moving it to match something in the track. So that is with nudge where you're on the grid. Now, something you may not have known is that when you are on still in grid mode, you can actually come down here and switch nudge to minutes and seconds. And now, why would I do this? The reason that I can do this is because I can go into much, much tinier increments than I can ever get in on the grid, where this is by time, second, half second, tenth of a second, hundredth of a second, thousandth of a second, which is a millisecond at this point. So that is what we are dealing with. And so if I'm on, which this is where if I was doing like a cut on a vocal or like, ooh, this vocal is just a little bit behind this segment. If I'm on 10 milliseconds, which is really small, you're gonna see I'm gonna nudge it. See how tiny of a nudge this is doing? This is gonna help me anytime I'm trying to make something line up exactly perfectly. Hey, hey, mama. And now his vocal right there hits right on the downbeat. If we wanted to go even smaller, like this is for if you're doing super, super tiny nudges, you can go to 1 millisecond, which I use this if I'm really trying to line up like a guitar or something that needs to be really tight. So if we see, I want to zoom in very far where you can actually see how small this nudge is. So you can see like it's tiny. We're using a 1 millisecond, which allows us to really fine tune any nudging we need. So that's with plus and minus on our number pad. And you can control the length in minutes and seconds right here. Any other option though, if you're using time code, feet and frames, samples, or bars and beats, you can always select your nudge option right there and it functions with the plus and minus key. So that is using the nudge function in Pro Tools on grid and off grid. So thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you all next time. Later.
Hey guys, so I'm Robert, and today we're gonna go over mixing a pop vocal. So today I have a song called Haunted by the band Bad Bonsai, and listening to this vocal, it reminds me a lot of Ryan Tedder. It's a big vocal, it's got a big range, so I'm going to be referencing some acoustic versions of a One Republic song because this is an acoustic version of the song. So let's get started. First, let me play a little bit of the chorus just so y'all can hear the vocal and what we have.
That make you say, I don't want to let you go, I just want to tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we are on the road, I quickly depart. You just wanna save my soul, but I kinda like it haunted. But I kinda like it haunted, 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 yeah.
So obviously we have a great vocal, which is gonna be very fun to mix. This is an acoustic version of the song, like I said, so it's going to be pretty simple and straightforward. We only have one lead vocal and then a background vocal. If I was, for the full production of this song, it had a lot of vocals, a lot of dub vocals, a lot of backgrounds, which I would approach it the same way, just little tweaks here and there, which I can talk about later. For this, like I said, it's going to be very simple. So I'm just going to walk y'all through what I did to mix this vocal. So first thing is I have my references. Like I said, it was some One Republic songs, and I pulled some acoustic versions to reference. Let me play a little bit of those real quick.
Autos are slamming doors, but we still care about each other. Say we care about each other. I know life took us far away, but I still dream about the good old days when we took care of each other. We were living for each other. Would you rescue me? Would you get my back? Would you take my car when I start to crack? Would you rescue me? Would you rescue me? Would you rescue me when I'm by myself, when I need your love?
So the first thing I hear in the references is like on the verses, we have more of a drier vocal, and then a lot of effects come in on the chorus, which I wanted to do the similar thing. You also, when you're mixing a pop vocal, you want it kind of in your face and bright. You want it to cut through. And so that's what I want to go over today. And as we're doing it, if you guys have any questions, comment in the chat and I will answer. So the first thing I did is I had the vocal. We recorded it, I comped it up, and the first thing I did was I imported my vocal template. If you don't have a vocal template, a mixing template, you should do that. It's a quick, easy way to stay organized, where you can move quickly and stay creative. For those of y'all that don't know how to import your vocal template, if you just hit Option-Shift-I, go find your template, which for me, Sessions, vocal template. Then select what you want to pull in all your effects buses, and import them. So that's the first thing I did. So for this, I have the lead vocal background. I have a vocal bus. I have all my effects, an effects bus, all vocals, including the effects, and then my master bus. So we'll get started. I'm just going to loop this chorus.
Let you go. I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. Oh, I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we got on the road, I quit.
So the first thing, obviously, I'm gonna route it into my lead vocal bus, and I have a de-esser on the vocal.
Oh,
just getting rid of those sibilants, T's and the S, tame it a little bit. And then I have an EQ, just doing some reductive EQ of some problem issues in the vocal. So like right here, around 1K, I'll solo it out, you can hear it.
I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we got on the road, I quickly departed.
Mute the background. So for me, I was listening to that. I wanted to get rid of that, obviously, so.
I just wanna tell you I'm sorry.
Then and then after that, I route everything into my vocal bus. The first thing I like to start with is a limiter. Now this is something new I've been doing. I've been using a lot of limiters. For this L2, I like the harmonic distortion that it gives. So I'll start with that just to kind of cut the peaks. And you can see that it's just barely kissing it, right?
You just wanna save my soul, but I kinda like it haunted.
So that's my first plugin. That's what I like doing when I'm doing vocals. Get rid of those like little peaks that may jump out at you before it hits any compression, EQ, and stuff like that. So the next thing I do is I have an EQ that's going to be EQing all the vocals together. So for instance, if this was a full production, and I had a bunch of dub vocals, I would be EQing them together. For this, because it was simple and it's just an acoustic version, I had the one background harmony vocal and the lead vocal together. And so same thing, I'm just doing some reductive EQing.
I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. as soon as we are on the road.
The low mids, those get real muddy real fast. And so that's, you know, especially with this vocal, I mean, it's already a great vocal, and it's got a big full range. He's got a great low vocal as well, like, or lower range in his vocal.
I'll be blind.
And you can hear on the verses and pre-choruses, right, where he's down low before he gets to the chorus.
I'll be blind, so
I want to make sure I contain
when
that.
I tell you that you're my everything.
Cutting out a little bit of the harshness
Everything.
around 1 to 2K.
Bitter pills taste
And then some more
sweet,
problematic
but I'm forced to
3K,
repeat those
4K.
lines that make.
Pretty simple. And then after that, I have a distressor for the vocal, for the compressor on the vocal. I'll go to the chorus.
I don't wanna let you go. I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we
Now this
are
isn't doing a lot of reduction, it's just, you know, again, just kissing it. When I recorded this vocal, recorded it on a U87, just straight into the twin, the Apollo twin. And I compressed it while recording. I used the Tube Tech CL1B. For this, obviously I love the distressor for the vocal. And so that's what I'm using on this. For me, if I'm doing a pop vocal, I like to start with a slower attack and a quicker release. To me, it helps keep some of those transients, makes it, you know, a little more punchy. And for a pop vocal, that's kind of what you want. So I'll start with a really slow attack, quick release, and then adjust it depending on the tempo and the song. So that's what I did here.
I don't wanna let you go.
I will mute the other plugins I have as we go.
I don't wanna let you go. I just wanna tell you.
And then the distressor.
I don't wanna let you go. I just wanna tell you I'm sorry.
So we're controlling the dynamics. We're kind of bringing that vocal up front. Obviously, like I said earlier, with the reference vocal of, you know, the One Republic song, Ryan Tedder, any pop vocal really, it's right in your face, and you know, that's what you want to accomplish with that. So have the distressor. Then I have the SSL EQ channel strip.
I don't wanna
Now
let
with this, I'm doing some more compression. I like to, when I'm compressing the vocal, I like to do a little bit at a time. So you'll see I have the L2, the limiter, just barely kissing it. Then I have the distressor that's knocking off a little bit. Then I have the SSL that's knocking off a little bit. I like to do a little bit at a time.
I don't wanna let you go.
So I'm just barely touching the
I
compressor
just
on
wanna
this.
tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we are on the road.
And then for the EQ, you'll see I'm brightening up the vocal a little bit. Again, this is a pop vocal. You want that vocal right in front, real bright. I'm taking out a little bit of the harshness between the 3 and 4K range. Taking out about 1.5, and then also taking out just a little bit of the 100 hertz. You know, for this, it's an acoustic version where usually I would, I'd be a little more drastic. If it was a full production and I had drums and synths and all that, I may roll off a little bit more of that, just because you don't need that information if you have a big production. For this, it's just an acoustic guitar. You know, I'm being a little more reserved with it. So I will bypass this.
I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we are on the road, I quickly depart.
It's very subtle, but you guys can hear it where it's just cleaning up a little bit the low mids, making it a little brighter, a little cleaner of a vocal.
I don't wanna let you go.
And so then after that, so the first thing, going back, I did some reductive EQing, surgical stuff. This SSL, I also did some, subtractive, but I made it brighter. That's what I call coloring, EQ to color. So I shaped the vocal how I wanted it to sound. After that, I did another compressor where I'm gonna hit it a little bit harder on this 1176. Again, this is just depending on the song and what you're doing. If it's a pop vocal, I keep saying it, but you want that right, you want it right in your face. And so that's what I'm doing here. And again, I have a slow attack and a quicker release.
I don't wanna let you go. I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we are
I'm kind of hitting it pretty hard, right?
I quickly
bypass it.
I don't wanna let you go. I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we got on the road,
and then after that, I have another de-esser, but this de-esser is not de-essing the sibilants. This is, for me, I like using this at the end of my chain to kind of maintain some of the harshness in the vocal. And so you'll hear it. It's, again, real subtle.
I don't wanna let you go. I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we got on the road, I quickly departed. You just wanna save my soul, but I kinda like it haunted.
For me, that kind of high, mid, high, you know, the real kind of piercing frequency in the vocal, to me, that's where it's taming, right at 4.2K. And then after that, I got another compressor just to kind of level everything out.
I don't wanna let you go.
And the ratio's 2, so it's real subtle, just kissing it. And so once I kind of shape the vocal how I want it, EQ and compression wise, then that's when I kind of get into my effects. And so like I said, I had my vocal template, and for this, where I kind of start out with, I have a plate, a slap, a throw delay, a chorus, a big verb, where I will sometimes automate it depending on the song. Verb throw, again, where I'll automate it. An eighth note delay, and then a ping pong. So I'll just I'll start in this chorus. Start with the plate. I'm using the Fab Filter, reverb. So what I like to do with my reverbs, you know, what a lot of people don't think about is reverb is still audio, right? And you need to time out your reverbs and your delays. Now, when you're using the delay, when you throw up the plugin, you know, you'll throw on a quarter note, eighth note, it's in time with your tempo. But a lot of people forget about the reverbs, and the reverb you still need to put in time. And so there's a bunch of websites, you know, if you just type in like BPM tempo calculator, you can type in the tempo of your song and it'll tell you, you know, in your milliseconds, how long the, you know, reverb should be to be, whether you want a quarter note, eighth note, whole note, whatever you want. And so for this plate, obviously we're in a tempo of 85, and I typed it in on the calculator and it told me 2,823 milliseconds, which is 1.8 seconds, right? So that's the first thing I do. When I pull up my reverbs, I make sure my reverbs, delays, all my effects are in time. And so let me go ahead and mute all the other effects. So the first thing I started with was just a plate reverb.
I don't wanna let you go. I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we got on the
Made sure it was in time, and then I EQ'd my reverb. A lot of people don't do this. I'm a big fan of this. I always compress, EQ, treat my reverb because, again, it's audio. So
I don't wanna let you go.
I'm rolling off the super low end, kind of taming up, you know, some of the high end sibilants of the reverb.
I quickly departed.
It's dry.
You just wanna save my soul, but I kinda like it.
Then the next thing I have is my slap reverb. And I guess if I didn't say it, I'm using, you know, I'm busting it all through buses and effects, right? So I can, depending on my song, and this is all taste, what I want, I can adjust.
I don't wanna let you go. I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we got on.
And then, you know, I'll usually also automate these as well. So then my slap, I'm using the Echo Boy. I like, this is something new too I've been doing that I learned from a friend. I'll throw this Echo Boy on, dual echo, and then I'll set it to 98 milliseconds. Anywhere between like 90 to 100, I found, you know, I like a lot. To me, this gives, kind of widens the vocal a little bit, kind of gives it some, you know, stereo imaging. I will over-exaggerate. You can kind of hear on the left and right. So then I'll just blend that to taste.
But I kinda like it haunted. But I kinda like it haunted.
I'll blend that in. Again, if you guys have questions, go ahead and comment. I'm answering questions. Someone said, how much does the music track dictate your vocal treatments? has everything to do with it. You know, to me, the vocal is the most important thing, and determining on the track and the production determines the vocals. So, you know, if I have a production that's like maybe like super dry and you know, it just depends. Like if you know, if I have something that's like super poppy and dancing and dry, whatever, maybe I don't go crazy on the effects because I want the vocal super dry and right there. But then if I have something that's kind of ballady, maybe like piano and vocal, and you know, you're trying to tap into that emotion, you know, I may, you know, bigger reverbs and delays, you know, to kind of fill up the space. So it just, you know, it's a huge part. You know, the production and the vocals got to play together. Vocal's the most important thing. So it just depends. With this track, it's just acoustic and vocal, so I'm going to over-exaggerate the effects a little bit just to kind of make that vocal really big and take up a lot of the room. That's a good question. All right, so yeah, the slap kind of widens the vocal a little bit.
I don't wanna let you go.
Go ahead and mute it.
I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as
To me, it's subtle. Of course, like all this stuff is going to just be subtle little things that you add, but then the final product, it makes a big difference. To me, it's subtle, but it kind of livens up the vocal a little bit, makes it a little wider. And then next thing I have is my throw delay.
my father told me
I'm using the Valhalla.
to go and chase heartbeats.
So I'll over-exaggerate it.
Never, you never betray. Yeah. Then you'll feel complete.
So again, this is going to be to taste, and this was something also like in the final mix, like I'm going to automate and kind of ride throughout the song. I'll listen to the song and ride that delay, like maybe have it poke out in certain parts, right? You know, going back to our reference of Ryan Tedder and One Republic, what I liked about the acoustic versions they had of their songs was the verses were really dry and intimate. And so I like that. And so, you know, all my effects, which I'll get to down here, I automated the entire effects bus to make the verses drier. And so like I'll start there and then I'll go back to the individual, you know, this throw bus maybe and do some automation.
My father told me
At that point, it's just, you know, to taste and whatever you want creatively.
to go and chase heartbeats.
So I'll give it a little delay,
Never,
throw,
you
quarter
never
note.
betray.
I've been loving this Valhalla delay. Been using it a lot. And again, I'm EQing my delay,
My father told me
bypass it.
to go and chase heartbeats.
So I kind of wanted to tuck that delay a little bit. I didn't want it to get too distracting, so I took, you know, obviously a low end out and then some of the high end, filter it off.
My father told me
So it kind of sits in the back of the mix a little bit, right?
my father told me
And then my next effect, so I have a chorus on it.
I'll be
This, you know, I'll use this determining on, you know, depends on the song. This, again, is to taste.
I'll be blind.
The chorus, you got to be kind of careful with the chorus. If you push the chorus a lot, you know, it could make the vocal sound a little bit out of tune. But I like to use it just subtly to kind of widen it a little bit, give it some more life, kind of like what I'm doing on the slap. And so I have this TAL chorus plugin. I think this is a free plugin. If you just Google it, I think you know, it's a free plugin.
I'll be blind. So
Have the stereo width all the way up.
when I tell you that
So
you're
again,
my
I'll over-exaggerate.
everything, my everything. Bitter pills taste sweet, but I'm forced to repeat those lines that make you say.
Then I'll just blend it into
that
taste.
make you.
Somebody asked, what is the difference between your slap settings and a micro shift? Is the slap times to the BPM, or do you just use the settings or as a time or at times? So the slap times are not to my BPM. You can do that using the BPM calculator that I was talking about earlier. To to me, the 98 milliseconds is a super tight, that just through trial and error and using it a lot, that I've liked in that kind of, that range. To me, it was just, like I said, experiment. I would challenge y'all to do the same thing. And maybe it's not 98 milliseconds, like find something that you like. If it's, sometimes if it's a big production, with these effects, just because I have them in my template doesn't mean I use it. So, with this slap, if it's something that I feel like is muddying up the vocal, I'll just mute it, get rid of it. But that's a good question. It's not the tempo. It's just something that through experimenting that I like using. But you can put it in tempo if you want, which I have some, the 8th note, and I believe I'll get to it. My ping pong is at a 16th note. So, and then the other part of the question was, what's the difference between the slap and the micro shift? It's pretty much the same thing. Obviously, the micro shift I think has a little bit of the phaser aspect to it / chorus. With how I'm using the slap, it's just a straight delay. And the micro shift adds some kind of phaser chorusy thing to it. So if you could do the same thing. Again, it's to taste and whatever you want to do creatively. So then the next thing I have is I have a big verb. So I call it big verb just because I have a bigger reverb time. First thing I'm doing, because I don't want the high end, the sibilants going into my reverb and making it poke out, I de-essed it before I hit the reverb. So willingly when I tell you. Then I'm using the Valhalla vintage verb at 5.6 seconds. Again, using my BPM calculator. I think this is 2 whole notes, maybe 1 whole note. Yeah, I think it's 1 whole note. And so you'll hear that big tail. You that you're my everything, my everything. And then again, I'll just blend that to taste, right? So willingly when I tell you that you're my everything, my everything. And again, I'll automate this before, at the end of my mix, I'll automate this depending on the song and the emotion and where I want certain effects and words to poke out. Then I have a verb throw on this. I'm not using it, I have it inactive. The verb throw I'll use, like maybe if it's on a full production, right? And if like a track is, the track's dropping out and I want the tail to keep going, I'll use it on that. For this, I'm not using it. Then I have an 8th note delay, something real tight to kind of thicken up the vocal, bring it to life. And I'm using the Echo Boy again. Pretty simple, just 8th note. Blowing off some of the highs and the lows. I'll over-exaggerate that. Bitter pills taste sweet, but I'm forced to repeat those lines that make you sing. Then I have a ping pong 16th note, again, to widen out the vocal, give it some life. This one I'm being pretty drastic on the cutting the highs. I'll be blind, so if I don't have that, you're gonna hear, and to me it was distracting to have the high end of the vocal delay kind of going crazy, especially in a track like this where it's just acoustic and vocal. I'll be blind, so willingly when I tell you that you're my everything. So I wanted that movement and I wanted to widen it, but I didn't want it to distract from the lead vocal. And again, that's the most important thing, is the vocal, right? So I wanted to have that movement and I wanted to widen it, but I didn't want to distract from it, so I rolled that off. And I could have obviously put an EQ after it, but I just did it in the plugin. And so then after that, I have all my effects buses going into a bus. And like I said earlier, I'm compressing and EQing. So I do some subtractive EQ, getting rid of that muddy, low mids, and then compressing it. Bitter pills taste sweet. To me, compressing the reverb is going to help control the dynamics, and because I'm compressing the vocal as much as I am, I want to compress the effects so that the effects, controlling the dynamics, the effects sit right there with the vocal, especially on a pop track like this. Like you want your vocal up front, but you also want your effects supporting that vocal. And so that's why I'm compressing it.
I'll be blind so willingly
and
when I tell
it.
you that you're my everything. My everything. Bitter pills taste sweet, but I'm forced to repeat.
So that's that. And then once I EQ, compress my vocal, and I get it sounding how I want, I will go through, and a lot of people automate, with your volume. The first thing I'll do is I'll clip gain. So I'll go through, which I've already done this.
So willingly when I tell you that you're my everything, my everything.
Do the top of the chorus.
I don't wanna let you go.
So like if I want a part to, if I'm trying to automate a part, I'll just take that clip, Control Shift up and down, and I'll clip gain that part. So I'll do that.
I don't wanna let you go.
Once I get my vocal how I want to sound it, or how I want my vocal to sound. And then once I have all that, I have my lead vocal and background. To me, even if you have a singer like this that's incredible, they're not going to be perfectly in time. If you start adding a bunch of vocals and ad libs and backgrounds, you want to time those up. You can do it by hand. That takes a lot of time. I like using a plugin called Vocal Line, which is an audio suite. And so I love this plugin. Basically what you'll do is you'll select the vocal, your lead vocal, guide, capture. It'll capture that vocal, and then you just go down to your background, which is my dub. You click dub, capture, spot, and it'll time your vocal out. And so I'll do that, let's say I have a lead vocal and then 10 ad libs and who knows, 20 background vocals. I'll do it to every vocal to make sure the vocals are super tight. Because especially if you get a lot of vocals on there and they're not tight, it's going to make things messy. So I'll do that, which I already have. So I'll just throw that up there. I'll go through vocal line. And then
I don't wanna let you go.
Once you do that, I have a vocal bus, which I'm just using the Neutron. Isotope Neutron. Just doing a little bit of EQ stuff, dynamic EQ, a little bit of compression, and then the exciter on it. And then I have the Pultec. With this, I'm just bumping a little bit on the 100. Even though I rolled it off earlier, I'm just giving a little bit of bump on the 100, and then a little bit of bump on 10K, just to kind of brighten that vocal, again with the pop vocal, make it super bright in your face. And then with that, I have my guitar and vocal going into my stereo bus. And that's pretty much it. So, once you do all that, then from there, it's just your automation and, whatever creative automation you want to do with your effects. If you want a delay to pop out or a reverb to pop out, that's pretty much it. So once again, this was Haunted by Bad Bonsai. I'll play the chorus one more time.
I don't wanna let you go.
Can we hear the track? Yeah, I'll play verse 2 till the end. And like I said earlier, where I automated the effects, where I made the verses drier. Listen for that. You'll hear the verses drier where it's a little more emotional and the guitar's not doing a lot. But then when the chorus hits and he goes up the octave, right, and there's harmonies, the vocal gets bigger, you have more reverb, creates more space and emotion. So here's Haunted by Bad Bonsai.
Build walls out of my past. Build them slow, build them to last. To want you trapped inside. But I'm lonely, so it's alright. I'll be blind so willingly when I tell you that you're my everything. my everything. Bitter pills taste sweet when I'm forced to repeat those lines that make you sing, that make you sing. I don't wanna let you go, I just wanna tell you I'm sorry. As soon as we got on the road, I quickly departed. You just wanna save my soul, but I kinda like it haunted. But I kinda like it haunted, 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 yeah. And yeah, and yeah.
Cool. So yeah, once again, this is Bad Bonsai Haunted. If you guys want to hear the full version that's produced and got a bunch of vocals in it, it's everywhere you listen to music, Spotify, all that good stuff. So again, I was Robert. Thank y'all for joining me, and I'll catch y'all next time.
Thanks everybody for watching. If you found this content useful, please like this video. It will tell YouTube to show it to others. If you are enrolled, please go to the Seminars tab on the my.trcoa website and take the quiz over tonight's lesson. And if you need to book one-on-one time with an instructor, text 512-231-0344. If you aren't enrolled, go to trcoa.edu to find out more information about what we do. Also, please post in the chat subjects you'd like to see for our upcoming live streams. And as always, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye, everybody.